You need to know the easiest method to pass the WGU C168 Objective Assessment. Look no further. On our website, we provide the most exhaustive list of practice questions that will prepare you for the Critical Thinking and Logic course. In this video, we will cover questions from Logical Thinking Challenge, Creative Problem Solving, Critical Reasoning Skills, Mathematical Puzzles, and Analytical Mind Games. So, let's get started. 1. What is the set of statements containing at least one premise and a conclusion called? A. Opinion. B. Fallacy. C. Argument. D. Assumption. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. C. Argument. Explanation. An argument is a set of statements that includes at least one premise and a conclusion. An opinion is just a viewpoint. A fallacy is a flaw in reasoning, and an assumption is a statement taken for granted. 2. What does the conclusion of an argument depend on? A. The quality of the premises. B. The opinion of the speaker. C. The length of the argument. D. The emotional appeal of the argument. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. A. The quality of the premises. Explanation. A conclusion depends on the quality and relevance of the premises. It is not based on the opinion of the speaker, length of the argument, or emotional appeal. 3. Which of the following refers to an argument that is based on poor reasoning? A. Deductive reasoning. B. Assumption. C. Fallacy. D. Premise. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. Fallacy. Explanation. A fallacy is an argument based on poor reasoning. Deductive reasoning is a method used to draw conclusions. An assumption is a statement taken for granted, and a premise is part of an argument. 4. In an if-then statement, what is the part prefaced with if called? A. Consequent. B. Assumption. C. Premise. D. Antecedent. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. D. Antecedent. Explanation. In an if-then statement, the antecedent is the part prefaced with if. The consequent follows the then. An assumption and a premise are different parts of reasoning. 5. What is the term for the logical and systematic approach to thinking about something? A. Emotion. B. Assumption. C. Reasoning. D. Opinion. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. C. Reasoning. Explanation. Reasoning refers to a logical and systematic approach to thinking. Emotion and opinion are subjective and not always systematic, while an assumption is taken for granted in reasoning. 6. What term describes a statement that can be either true or false? A. Premise. B. Conclusion. C. Fallacy. D. Statement. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. D. Statement. Explanation. A statement is a sentence that can be true or false. A premise supports a conclusion, while a fallacy is a flaw in reasoning. A conclusion is the final statement derived from premises. 7. What is an unsupported set of statements intended to draw a picture in the mind of a listener called? A. Premise. B. Fallacy. C. Description. D. Conclusion. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. C. Description. Explanation. A description is a set of statements meant to draw a mental picture without necessarily providing reasoning or support. A premise and a conclusion involve reasoning, while a fallacy involves poor reasoning. 8. What is the method of reasoning that attempts to draw a conclusion that cannot be false if all the premises are true? A. Inductive reasoning. B. Assumption. C. Deductive reasoning. D. Correlation. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. C. Deductive reasoning. Explanation. Deductive reasoning aims to reach a conclusion that cannot be false if the premises are true. Inductive reasoning makes conclusions that are probable but not certain, while correlation and assumptions are not methods of reasoning. 9. Which of the following is a statement that the conclusion of an argument depends on? A. Premise. B. Fallacy. C. Correlation. D. Assumption. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. D. Assumption. Explanation. An assumption is a statement the conclusion depends on. Premises are more explicitly stated, while a fallacy indicates poor reasoning, and correlation refers to a relationship between events. 10. What occurs when two events happen around the same time, but the relationship might be coincidental? A. Inductive reasoning. B. Causation. C. Correlation. D. Deductive reasoning. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. C. Correlation. Explanation. Correlation refers to events occurring around the same time that may be coincidental. Causation implies one event directly causes another, while inductive and deductive reasoning are approaches to drawing conclusions. 11. In an argument, what term refers to the statement that is implied by the premises? A. Premise. B. Assumption. C. Conclusion. D. Correlation. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. Conclusion. Explanation. A conclusion is implied by the premises in an argument. The premises are the starting points, while assumptions are unstated supports, and correlation refers to the relationship between events. 12. What is the argument pattern called where the antecedent is affirmed and the consequent follows? A. Post hoc fallacy. B. Modus ponens. C. Modus tollens. D. Fallacy of relevance. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Modus ponens. Explanation. Modus ponens is the pattern of reasoning where if the antecedent, the if part, is affirmed, the consequent, the then part, follows. Modus tollens involves negating the consequent, while the others are different fallacies. 13. Which of the following refers to a fallacy that assumes one thing causes another simply because it happens after it? A. Post hoc fallacy. B. Begging the question. C. False dichotomy. D. Straw person. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. A. Post hoc fallacy. Explanation. The post hoc fallacy assumes causation based merely on the order of events. Begging the question assumes what it's trying to prove. A false dichotomy limits alternatives, and a straw person misrepresents an argument. 14. Which of the following terms is used for an if-then statement in reasoning? A. Premise. B. Assumption. C. Conditional. D. Correlation. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. C. Conditional. Explanation. A conditional is an if-then statement in reasoning. Premises and assumptions support arguments, while correlation refers to coincidental occurrences. 15. What fallacy occurs when a listener accuses the arguer of being guilty of the same thing they are arguing against? A. Straw person. B. Tu quoque. C. Ad hominem. D. False dichotomy. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Tu quoque. Explanation. The tu quoque fallacy involves accusing the arguer of hypocrisy rather than addressing the argument. Ad hominem attacks the person rather than the argument, and the other options are different types of fallacies. 16. Which term describes the act of examining one's thoughts, feelings, and motives. A. Reasoning. B. Premise. C. Self-reflection. D. Assumption. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. C. Self-reflection. Explanation. Self-reflection is the process of examining one's own thoughts and motives. Reasoning is a logical process. A premise supports conclusions, and assumptions are taken for granted. 17. What do we call statements based on factual research that are subject to verification but do not require critical thought? A. Objective statements. B. Assumptions. C. Premises. D. Fallacies. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. A. Objective statements. Explanation. Objective statements are based on factual research and can be verified. Assumptions and premises are part of reasoning, while fallacies involve flawed reasoning. 18. What type of reasoning uses premises to draw a conclusion that cannot be false if the premises are true? A. Deductive reasoning. B. Inductive reasoning. C. Correlation. D. Assumption. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. A. Deductive reasoning. Explanation. Deductive reasoning leads to conclusions that cannot be false if the premises are true. Inductive reasoning suggests probable conclusions, while correlation refers to coincidental events and assumptions support reasoning. 19. In an argument, what is a set of accepted assumptions called? A. Premises. B. Conclusions. C. Correlations. D. Fallacies. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. A. Premises. Explanation. Premises are the accepted assumptions in an argument that lead to a conclusion. Conclusions follow from premises, correlations show relationships, and fallacies indicate poor reasoning. 20. Which term refers to unsupported statements that aim to draw a mental picture? A. Premise. B. Conclusion. C. Description. D. Fallacy. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. C. Description. Explanation. Descriptions are unsupported statements used to create a mental picture. Premises and conclusions are part of reasoning, and fallacies are errors in reasoning. 21. What fallacy occurs when a person incorrectly infers that what is true of the whole is true for all its parts? A. Composition. B. Division. C. Straw person. D. Red herring. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. Division. Explanation. The fallacy of division occurs when someone assumes what is true for the whole is also true for its parts. Composition is the opposite. Straw person misrepresents arguments, and red herring distracts from the issue. 22. What is it called when two things are compared based on similarities, but the argument fails due to significant differences? A. Inductive reasoning. B. False dichotomy. C. Faulty analogy. D. Appeal to authority. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. C. Faulty analogy. Explanation. A faulty analogy occurs when an argument based on similarities fails because of important differences. Inductive reasoning draws probable conclusions. A false dichotomy limits options, and appeal to authority relies on expertise. 23. What is the method of reasoning that uses observed natural variations to infer a continuous causal relationship? A. Mill's method of agreement. B. Mill's method of difference. C. Mill's joint method. D. Mill's method of concomitant variation. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. D. Mill's method of concomitant variation. Explanation. Mill's method of concomitant variation uses observed variations to infer causal relationships. The other methods use different ways to analyze causes. 24. What is an argument that contains at least one tacit statement called A. Straw person, B. Enthymeme, C. Fallacy of relevance, D. False dichotomy? What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Enthymeme. Explanation. An enthymeme is an argument with at least one unstated premise. The other options represent different types of fallacies. 25. What is it called when a person misrepresents an opponent's argument in order to refute it easily? A. Red herring, B. Straw person, C. False dichotomy, D. Ad hominem? Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Straw person. Explanation. A straw person fallacy involves misrepresenting an argument to refute it easily. The other options refer to different argumentative errors. 26. What fallacy occurs when a person attacks the individual making the argument instead of the argument itself? A. Red herring, B. Ad hominem, C. Straw person, D. False dichotomy? What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Ad hominem. Explanation. An ad hominem fallacy attacks the person rather than the argument. A red herring distracts from the topic. A straw person misrepresents an argument. And a false dichotomy limits alternatives. 27. What is the process of assigning variables and logical connectives to parts of an argument called? A. Inductive reasoning, B. Symbolizing, C. Deductive reasoning, D. Fallacy of relevance? Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Symbolizing. Explanation. Symbolizing refers to assigning variables and logical connectives to arguments. The other options are methods of reasoning or fallacies. What do we call a condition without which a certain effect does not occur? A. Necessary condition, B. Sufficient condition, C. Proximal cause, D. Assumption? What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. A. Necessary condition. Explanation. A necessary condition is required for an effect to occur, while a sufficient condition guarantees the effect. A proximal cause is immediate, and assumptions are taken for granted. What fallacy occurs when an arguer ignores facts that may support a different conclusion? A. Straw person, B. Appeal to emotion, C. Suppressed evidence, D. Ad hominem? Do you know the answer? Correct answer. C. Suppressed evidence. Explanation. Suppressed evidence refers to ignoring facts that would support a different conclusion. The other options are different types of fallacies. 30. What do we call a process of reaching a conclusion that is likely but not certain based on the premises? A. Deductive reasoning, B. Correlation, C. Inductive reasoning, D. Causal investigation. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. Inductive reasoning. Explanation. Inductive reasoning leads to probable but not certain conclusions. Deductive reasoning leads to certain conclusions. Correlation involves patterns, and causal investigation looks for causes. Struggling with your WGU exams? We've all been there. Welcome to oaexams.com, your ultimate resource for WGU success. Find over 15,000 plus questions and answers. Join our thriving community of over 10,000 active WGU students and an impressive 100% success rate with our premium exam support. Visit oaexams.com today and take the first step toward guaranteed success. What fallacy involves presenting a pair of alternatives as the only options when others exist? A. False dichotomy. B. Begging the question. C. Appeal to authority. D. Ad hominem. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. A. False dichotomy. Explanation. A false dichotomy presents limited alternatives when others are available. The other options represent different fallacies. What type of reasoning seeks to infer that one thing has a characteristic because it shares similarities with another? A. Inductive reasoning. B. Analogical reasoning. C. Deductive reasoning. D. Causal investigation. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Analogical reasoning. Explanation. Analogical reasoning infers characteristics based on similarities. Inductive and deductive reasoning are broader methods, while causal investigation seeks to determine causes. What term describes the belief that one's social group is inherently superior to others? A. Egocentrism. B. Sociocentrism. C. Intellectual autonomy. D. Strong sense critical thinking. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. Sociocentrism. Explanation. Sociocentrism is the belief in the superiority of one's social group. Egocentrism refers to self-centered thinking, while intellectual autonomy and strong sense critical thinking focus on independent and ethical thinking. Which of the following is a characteristic of strong sense critical thinking? A. Avoiding viewpoints that contradict one's own. B. Changing views when confronted with superior reasoning. C. Using emotional manipulation. D. Hiding or distorting evidence. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Changing views when confronted with superior reasoning. Explanation. Strong sense critical thinkers change their views when faced with better reasoning. Avoiding opposing views, emotional manipulation, and hiding evidence are characteristics of weak sense thinking. What fallacy involves asking a question loaded with an assumption? A. Complex question. B. Appeal to authority. C. Red herring. D. False dichotomy. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. A. Complex question. Explanation. A complex question is a fallacy where the question includes a hidden assumption. The other options are different types of fallacies. A mental process by which the mind draws conclusions on the basis of reasons. A. Reasoning. B. Correlation. C. Assumption. D. Deduction. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. A. Reasoning. Explanation. Reasoning is the process of drawing conclusions based on reasons. Correlation refers to coincidental patterns. Assumptions are unstated beliefs, and deduction is a type of reasoning. What fallacy occurs when an argument assumes the point it is designed to prove? A. Straw person. B. Post hoc fallacy. C. Begging the question. D. Red herring. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. Begging the question. Explanation. Begging the question assumes what the argument is trying to prove. The other options represent different types of fallacies. What is the term for thinking that is clear, precise, and logical? A. Intellectual empathy. B. Strong sense critical thinking. C. Egocentric thinking. D. Sociocentric thinking. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Strong sense critical thinking. Explanation. Strong sense critical thinking is characterized by clarity, precision, and logic. Egocentric and sociocentric thinking are biased forms of reasoning, and intellectual empathy involves understanding others' perspectives. 9. What is the relationship between the parts of an argument after the simple statements are replaced by variables? A. Form. B. Content. C. Conclusion. D. Fallacy. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. A. Form. Explanation. The form of an argument is what remains when simple statements are replaced with variables and logical connectives. Content refers to the specific details, while conclusions and fallacies are different aspects of reasoning. 40. Which of the following describes unsupported statements that aim to inform or convey information without providing reasoning? A. Premises. B. Reports. C. Assumptions. D. Arguments. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Reports. Explanation. A report is an unsupported statement meant to convey information without reasoning. Premises support conclusions, assumptions are taken for granted, and arguments involve reasoning. 1. What is it called when reasoning is influenced by one's values, biases, and expectations, often leading to different perceptions? A. Deductive reasoning. B. Inductive reasoning. C. Personal observation. D. Testimony. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. C. Personal observation. Explanation. Personal observation is filtered through individual biases and expectations, leading to different perceptions. Deductive and inductive reasoning are methods of reasoning, and testimony is a form of evidence. 42. What reasoning method is based on identifying a cause by comparing two cases where one has the effect and the other does not? A. Mill's method of agreement. B. Mill's method of difference. C. Mill's joint method. D. Mill's method of concomitant variation. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Mill's method of difference. Explanation. Mill's method of difference identifies causes by comparing cases with and without the effect. The other methods use different reasoning strategies. 43. Which fallacy occurs when someone distracts from the main issue by introducing an irrelevant topic? A. Red herring. B. Straw person. C. False dichotomy. D. Ad hominem. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. A. Red herring. Explanation. A red herring distracts from the main issue by introducing irrelevant information. The other options represent different types of fallacies. 44. Which reasoning process involves generating and testing hypotheses to determine their accuracy? A. Deductive reasoning. B. Analogical reasoning. C. Hypothetical reasoning. D. Causal investigation. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. C. Hypothetical reasoning. Explanation. Hypothetical reasoning involves generating and testing hypotheses. Deductive and analogical reasoning are different approaches, while causal investigation seeks to determine causes. 45. What is the term for unsupported assumptions that may not be reasonably accepted? A. Warranted assumptions. B. Unwarranted assumptions. C. Inferences. D. Premises. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Unwarranted assumptions. Explanation. Unwarranted assumptions are those that cannot be reasonably accepted without further argument. Warranted assumptions are accepted. Inferences are conclusions drawn from premises, and premises support conclusions. 46. What fallacy occurs when a listener uses a person's situation against them, ignoring their argument? A. Ad hominem. B. Circumstantial argument against the person. C. Straw person. D. False dichotomy. What do you think is the answer? Correct answer. B. Circumstantial argument against the person. Explanation. A circumstantial argument against the person uses their situation to discredit them. Ad hominem attacks the individual, while straw person misrepresents the argument, and false dichotomy limits alternatives. 47. What is the method of reasoning that relies on empirical data and scientific methods to reduce errors in observation? A. Case example. B. Research study. C. Personal experience. D. Testimony. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Research study. Explanation. A research study uses empirical data and scientific methods to minimize observation errors. Case examples, personal experience, and testimony are less reliable forms of evidence. 48. What type of reasoning reaches conclusions about a population based on a sample? A. Inductive reasoning. B. Enumerative induction. C. Deductive reasoning. D. Causal reasoning. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. Enumerative induction. Explanation. Enumerative induction draws conclusions about a population based on a sample. Inductive and deductive reasoning are broader approaches, and causal reasoning seeks to identify causes. 49. What fallacy occurs when the meaning of a word changes within the context of an argument? A. Division. B. Equivocation. C. Straw person. D. Red herring. Do you know the answer? Correct answer. B. Equivocation. Explanation. Equivocation occurs when the meaning of a word changes during an argument. The other options refer to different fallacies. 50. What is the term for the need to consistently pursue what is intellectually fair and just in thinking? A. Weak sense critical thinking. B. Strong sense critical thinking. C. Egocentrism. D. Intellectual autonomy. Can you guess the answer? Correct answer. B. Strong sense critical thinking. Explanation. Strong sense critical thinking is defined by the consistent pursuit of what is intellectually fair and just. Weak sense critical thinking avoids opposing views. Egocentrism focuses on oneself, and intellectual autonomy involves independent thinking. You've reached the end of our first question set. For the complete exam preparation experience, visit us at oaexams.com, where you'll find thousands more practice questions and comprehensive study guides. Thanks for studying with us today. See you in the next video.